Happy Saturday. We are officially 7 weeks out from my bodybuilding competition. Today is the last day of my current mesocycle of lifting. So my I'm going to take a deload week. I'm going to eat a little closer to maintenance. I'm going to still be in a little bit of a deficit, but not 500 Like I'm roughly 500 calorie in a 500 calorie deficit right now. We're on increased calories by 200-ish, 250. So we'll be like closer to 200, 250 calorie deficit. So like, I guess I should say I'll increase calories 200, 300, be in a 200, 300 calorie deficit for this week per day. And that way I can get get a little bit more muscle glycogen back, get a little, reduce some fatigue. Obviously, it's a deload week, so my volume is going to be lower, my intensity is going to be lower, and that's going to allow me to hit these next 5 weeks, hopefully pretty hard again. I would have to double check, but I think that over the last 5 weeks, I likely was it 5 weeks? We're now in April. Over the last 4 weeks, I probably only went down 3 pounds. So we're probably a little under because I weighed in at like 166.8 today. Weight's been fluctuating between 166 and 167, but that's, I feel like, kind of to be expected right now for me. It is still trending downward, and that's the goal. But I think that for myself, 164 is probably where I need to be. So there needs to be where I'm probably fluctuating between 163 and 164. I do feel lean. However, I don't know if I'm stage lean. It's just tough because I don't have if I'm not in great lighting, I don't think I look great. But if I'm in decent lighting, I think I look pretty good. Um, Obviously, the love handle area and the glutes are not super lean, but again, those are the areas that are last to become lean. Those are the keys that I'm kind of using right now to determine how lean I am. Um, so that's where we're at going into this deload week. We got 5 weeks of training again, 5 weeks of dieting, leading into my last deload into the competition. So peak week, I'm probably not going to do anything super crazy during peak week just because I don't have the experience. I don't want to do anything super crazy that could make my physique look worse. From what I've read online, doing peak week, you have, if you don't know what you're doing, you can make yourself look a lot worse. And the marginal gains that you could potentially get does not outweigh the potential risks. So that takeaway is, if you're doing your first show and you're not using a coach like I am, it's probably better to not use any peak week strategies. Definitely don't be manipulating your water and sodium intakes crazy in general. Like, unless you have a lot of experience, you probably shouldn't be doing that anyways. Like, that is a very dangerous thing to do. What you're doing, what bodybuilding is already inherently dangerous because you're basically starving yourself, which isn't healthy in general. Like, the mentality that goes into this is generally not healthy. Now, that leads me into my next point of kind of how bodybuilding works. Is it is a time dedication. And I find it interesting because while I'm enjoying the process, it's tough because it still consumes about a half. I mean, the training is obviously a big thing. The mental bandwidth that it takes up, and the time commitment in the evening, because you have to practice posing. I mean, that's typically, it's going to be 10 to 15 minutes of posing, and then if you're recording like I do, you're going to spend that same amount of time assessing. So you're looking at about a 30-minute time commitment. And while that doesn't seem like a lot, it is, because that's 30 minutes you can't do something else. Maybe you want to go for a walk outside, or you want to read a book, or there's just other interests that you have. So doing more bodybuilding for me, I don't know if it's in the cards. I today I've spent a lot of time assessing my values and things that I value and hold dear and what I want from life. I just don't know if bodybuilding is something that I want in my life, because it is a time commitment. Now I want to be quote unquote an athlete, and bodybuilding is a great way for me to kind of get that athlete aspect, because it's training. There's a mental fortitude that goes into both the training and the diet and getting super lean. But I just don't know if that complements the other values I have in life and other goals I have related to uh, personal and professional goals. I just don't think that this complements what I want from life well enough. We'll see how this next 7 weeks goes. We'll see how the competition goes, and from there we'll decide, is it worth the time and effort I'm about to put into this? Is it worth the mental fatigue and bandwidth that comes day to day? Because sometimes it's not bad. This week wasn't great. There's a couple days this week the mental bandwidth was definitely much, much worse. I don't want to continue to have some of these rough days where it's just I don't feel like I can do anything, where I feel like I don't have motivation. And again, it could be things outside of my bodybuilding competition that are just impacting me. But I strongly suspect that being in a caloric deficit for as long as I have been is probably the biggest issue that I'm seeing right now. And I don't know if I can do that again, because there's just other things I think that are more important to me. Now, don't get me wrong, like I want to look good, and like training's still going to be a big piece of my life after this bodybuilding show, because it was before. And diet and exercise is going to be really important, but I would like to focus on just some other things. And I think that I we'll see. We're going to have to see. Maybe I'll step on the stage, have a great time with it, be like, wow, that was a blast, and want to do it again. Or maybe I'll go through and be like, the time I spent for this, like the months and months I spent for this, did not result in the reward, or the experience was not worth the effort I put in, which is I think my biggest concern, because it is one day. Whereas there are other things I can do that I could potentially use or enjoy and experience many days. So that's my spiel. I hope that you all can find some inspiration from this, or I don't know, not inspiration, but some maybe guidance about what you should do with your life, or what you should how you should prioritize things if you're considering about doing bodybuilding specifically. But I am going to probably branch out into other ideas, because I got lots of ideas, lots of thoughts. I shouldn't say lots of ideas, but lots of thoughts and ramblings that I will probably do about health, about tech, about just anything that comes to my mind, because I want to share my thoughts. And what better way to do it than with a bunch of strangers that I'm never going to meet, probably. So have a great weekend. I'll see you next time.